Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to the North Augusta City Council study session for Monday, July 31st, 2023. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to our City Administrator, Mr. Jim Clifford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll have a fairly short review tonight of the upcoming City Council agenda for next Monday, department details, and then we'll have the Tommy Paradise Show, also known as the Development Code, distribution and initial commentary from the council. So with that, I will move into the agenda items for next week. And of note, we'll be celebrating Mike Turner's retirement from Parks and Recreation. Under old business, you have the under planning and development, the second reading of ordinance number 2023-14 for the general development plan for the 44.52 plus acre River Commons plan development on Knox Avenue between Martintown Road and LeCompte. And that's the discussion we had about the changes to allow Valvoline to be in there in between the Lowe's and the Kroger's. And so we had some discussion on that, but I don't believe there was any major concerns regarding that particular development change. So I'll pause there for any questions unless you want to dig into that one again. If not, we'll go into new business. Item number 7 under Parks, Recreation, and Tourism is resolution number 2023-28, selecting Cranston Engineering as the city's design and engineering services for the Sharon Jones Amphitheater additions to the Departments of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. And I can tell you, Rachel Moody and Rick Meyer and the team were part of the down select process and had some very good competition in that particular engineering and design firms, but ultimately the board chose Cranston, and that will be the decision for you for next week on that resolution. But I'll pause in case you had any questions on that. So again, this is strictly going through the design and engineering work, not the construction. We'll have under item number 8, administration resolution number 2023-29, resolution authorizing expenditure of coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. We're still working on the guts of that one. That's expenditure request number 7. We'll have a number of items prepared for next week for the council to consider. And I will send that separately to the council as far as the backup data, so you're not going to get ambushed on Monday night to make a big decision on things. And then what's not listed on here, and I'll work with Kelly, is to see whether or not we're going to add another resolution, and with Linda as well, to unencumber funds, because the council had previously encumbered a little over $3 million for the wastewater project that we subsequently got a major $7 million RIA grant for, and in order, but that locks up that funding in that line. And so what we want to do is have the council take a separate action to unencumber a portion of those funds, a little over $2 million, to apply to the general fund, if you will, of ARPA, to apply to new projects. So that's going to require a formal action, because I'm not allowed to just move money around in the checkbook kind of behind the scenes. That requires a public action here in front of the council. So that will also be coming to you as well.
Next week, good.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
I will add that in here. Under Planning Commission, you've got recommendation memorandum 23-014, the development code rewrite, receipt of information. And again, Tommy's going to give you the kind of the binder that's here. And then we also have one addition which we just got late, and I'll let Tommy talk that if you'd like about what's that? So we have a deed of dedication for Forest Bluff, which is a new development going there on the backside of Knollwood. So much like the deed of dedication we worked through with Joel Presley for the Sweetwater Tavern, very similar routine kind of action, but we just got that in on Friday, so we'll go ahead and get that moving and prepped, so you'll have that in the study packet as well. And I'll pause for questions on the agenda. Okay, hearing none, we'll go into department details, and we'll lead off with Linda from Finance.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have 2 updates. Cycle 1 due date will be Thursday, August 3rd, and our Cycle 2 disconnect dates are going to be Wednesday and Thursday. That's August 2nd and 3rd. That's all I have for now.
Thank you, Lynn.
Next up, Public Services with James Sutton.
Good evening. Today was a good day. We started delivering blue recycling bins to customers. We look forward to a near future collection. We anticipate our first round will be the week of August the 14th when we start collecting. And we had instructions that were inserted in each bin, and we look forward to serving our customers with this new recycling program. On a sad note, we had a couple of our side loader trucks go down that collects the residential roll carts. We'll be working late for the next several days to make sure that all our customers are served. We do ask that our customers leave the roll carts curbside. It could be late into the night, up to around 10 p.m. before they're collected. But leave them curbside. We'll get you emptied before the next day starts. And we hope that you'll work with us, and we'll get back up and running as soon as possible.
James, have we, I won't say patient, the customers, will they know that at 10 o'clock at night, I know we're doing it now, but if everybody's not listening, is there any way?
I know that a Facebook posting's been done.
Oh, okay.
As I was asking, I think
Because I know we'll have some calls,
Yeah, you may, but, I know it's been placed on Facebook.
and nobody gets shot out of that 10, 11.
And the trucks, we're going to be able to fix those.
I'm sorry, sir?
Trucks that are down?
The trucks, yes, they're side residential
Yeah.
side loaders. Yeah, yes, ma'am. They will, it's just going, we had some electrical issues.
Okay.
And James, one way, and I'm sure you've answered this, but on the recyclable bins, is it going to be like the green ones that the big arms reach out and just pour it? How do they do the recyclable?
They're 18-gallon bins. You'll place your loose recyclables inside the bin.
Yeah, but how does the city pick them
Well,
up?
manually, into
Oh,
a rear load truck.
Wow,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
Thank you, James.
yes, sir.
What you doing?
Next up, we have Tommy Paradise from Planning Development.
And again, this month, we don't have any applications for the Board of Zoning Appeals. And the Georgia Avenue Traffic Calming Study, I talked with emailed with the consultant last week, and he's done some engineering preliminary, kind of laid things out, and now he's drilling down into the price estimates and what the improvements will cost and where we can get funding for those at.
Next up, Chief Thomas.
Just have a couple of things. We were in Oklahoma City over the weekend, the captain, the lieutenant, and myself, to talk to Kalia, and I'm proud to announce tonight that we have been officially notified that we are the recipients of Advanced Law Enforcement Accreditation. So,
That's a round of applause.
thank you.
Thank you, Chief, your folks, Junior, everybody.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
thank you, sir.
Proud of you. That's awesome.
We're proud of the team. They did an outstanding job. We've been working for over a year trying to accomplish that, so we're there. And then the last thing I have is software and training that will begin at the end of August, along with that vendor and IT. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
And for the council, before I turn it over to Tom Zeser for Engineering and Public Works, basically the municipalities of South Carolina can really fall under one of three statuses. They can not be accredited, in which case they are required to meet a lot of training requirements based on the new House bill that's come out regarding public safety. They can have a state-level accreditation, or they can meet the much higher stringent national accreditation standards of CALIA, which Chief has been working through with the last year. So Chief's been setting that as a goal since he's been here, to make sure that the department here in North Augusta is nationally accredited, and I believe that puts us in very good stead with the state and with SLED from an auditing perspective as we go through the House bill requirements for training, and just by the very nature of the preparatory work that they've done for the CALIA accreditation puts us in a good shape in dealing with the state of South Carolina. So it's something that is a lot of work to get there, and I appreciate Chief and his team's efforts to get us into compliance to be in a national accredited public safety department.
Yep, very good. Thank you.
With that, I'll turn it over to Tom Zeser for Engineering and Public Works.
gonna let Rick go? That's Rick.
I didn't see Rick on the page. I'm sorry, Rick. Go ahead.
This is a small sheet we got.
I know it. Yeah, that was a tough act to follow anyway. Congratulations, Chief. We are in registration now for youth football, cheerleading, soccer, and volleyball. It's called fall sports. I think it now might be late summer sports. Got to get a little earlier start with this change in school calendar. And just an FYI, in case any of you, the North Augusta Country Club property site, we know it needs to be cut, but property maintenance and PRT are short staff due to vacancies, and our priorities are not there right now. All this rain and this heat, the grass is growing so fast, it's hard enough to keep up with what we have. But just so you know, it's on the list, and we plan on getting that cut sometime early fall.
Rick, somebody was asking me, maybe I saw on social media, have we put our Jack-o'-lantern Jubilee site, because people want to know who the entertainers are and all that, when will that be coming out, or?
Right, everything's been solved so far.
Okay.
We'll be coming out. We have a meeting this week with WAFJ to put something out good. And yes, we're working on the Visit North Augusta site will be where the Jack-o'-lantern Jubilee information will be able to be found.
And if anybody wants to, I've had one call about who do they contact? Is it Derek or Tanya?
About
The Jacqueline participating in, I guess a
yes,
booth or something?
Derek is the craft vendors.
Okay.
And Jeff Williamson is the food vendors.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep,
Okay.
Yep, still got him involved, yep, with the JOJ. But yes, we will be coming out with a bigger announcement on our artists. And reminder again, who we have. Friday night, Toby Mack, and Saturday, Sister Hazel.
Yep.
Yep.
Awesome.
Thank
you. Go ahead.
Thanks, Rick. Appreciate the update, and sorry for skipping over you initially. And I will turn it now over to Tom Zeser for Engineering and Public Works.
Just want to update on the Waterworks Greenway Bridge. As of last Friday, the contract work is substantially complete. The contractor only has some final dress-up and cleanup remaining under his contract obligations. The city streets crews will be working on the existing Greenway Trail side to shape that up and get it ready in a usable condition. And so we'll be scheduling with PRT and administration and the mayor's office to schedule a grand reopening dedication of the new bridge, hopefully in just the next couple of weeks.
Awesome. Thank you,
And
Tom.
let me bring up one more thing. The bridge over at Riverview Village, and I know that's, we keep saying it's not in a budget, but we have got to do something for those people.
Yeah, it's going to be in the ARPA.
Huh?
That's will be in the ARPA discussion.
Oh, it will, okay, because,
Yeah.
it is
they're working.
rough on them.
Yeah,
Okay,
it'll
thank
be,
you.
yeah.
Just so hopefully some of them will hear this.
Yep.
And also, really, just for the council members and our citizens, as you look at some of the items that are here and some of the updates that you received today, some of these major projects were actually accomplished with our legacy capital project sales tax funds. So, for example, the Waterworks Bridge that Tom talked about on the Greenway, that is getting finished off with capital project sales tax 1 money, which will actually close out that fund, which we're excited about. And then the updated 911 dispatch software, Smart Cop for public safety, is being primarily funded with CPSD 2, which will close out that fund. So we've got some legacy funds out there that we had set a goal to finish out citizen projects, and those will effectively end those 2 funds, and we'll be able to close those out before the start of the next budget year. And with that, I believe we're going to go into focus items, and I'm going to turn it over to Tommy. Did I miss Linda too? I'm Linda.
Be patient. Be patient. We're going to get it. I promise.
I will turn it over to Linda first. Sorry.
Good evening again. I have your Q2 Riverside Village update. Ready? You can go ahead. All right, as noted in prior updates, this is the paragraph that we do in every report we do. So, of course, these are voluntary basis. And the Q2 filing has been submitted to the Electronic Municipal Market Access website. You can find that report at emma.msrb.org. Also, it is on the city's website as well. And we are required to do an annual filing, and that has also been uploaded. We did that in May after the 2022 financial audit came out. Next slide. Okay. This is our assessed value of taxable property. This was updated with the 22 audit numbers. So what we have here is in tax year 2021, which we collected in fiscal year 22, we saw an increase in the assessed tax value of about 13%, which is about $14.8 million in real property. And the increase in personal property was about 17%, which was almost $7 million. 2020 was a reassessment year for Aiken County, and the new assessment values were reflected in the fiscal year 22 collections. Or values, and also this increase is also a representation of the growth that the city is seeing at this time. All right, next is the tax rates. This is the same as it was last update.
I like the way you put that on the bottom. This table remains unchanged.
Next is the city general fund budget. It's required and it's not changed. This slide is the 10 largest taxpayers in the city. Again, this table got updated with the 22 audit numbers. The top 9 taxpayers remain the same as they were in fiscal year 21. What did change, however, was the 10th taxpayer. It used to be NHC Healthcare, and now it is Next Chapter Sweetwater LLC. And that is the property management group that's doing the townhomes behind the Walmart at Exit 5. So again, it's just showing you that the residential growth in the city is expanding. The tax collection record for the city, this table again was updated with the 22 audit numbers, and really the only thing to point out is that we are still collecting 99% of our taxes levied in the current year that they're in.
Well, Linda, is that a big difference? Because I remember years ago, what the collection of taxes were. They were there, but is that a big improvement?
Well, it looks like the past 5 years it's been about that. Except for 1 year, but we ended up collecting by the end of we did collect it in the following year to hit that 99%.
Well,
But
that's great.
it looks like it's at least a 5-year trend at this point. All right, okay, so this is the outstanding indebtedness, also updated from our 22 audit. This shows the obligations that the city currently held as of December 31st of 22. It includes our capital leases for vehicles and equipment that we purchase, as well as the debt pertaining to Riverside Village, the public safety headquarters, and also the utility systems. All payments were made timely in 2022, and as a result, all the balances have decreased. The city still has its entire 8% borrowing capacity available to us, and our legal debt margin as of December 31st, 22 was $14,118,750. Next is our general obligation bond. This did not change with this update. Next, we have our local hospitality taxes. Again, this table is showing you 1% of the total 2% that is collected, and that 1% is dedicated to debt service. So far, our taxes are up $140,000 from this time last year, so that's about a 12% increase between the two time frames, and we had a 10% increase from fiscal year 21 to 22. So as you can see, the hospitality taxes they're doing great. Next is accommodation taxes, and again, I'm showing you the full 3% on this chart. However, only the Crown Plaza is dedicated to debt service. But we see an increase of about $27,000 in accommodation tax revenue from this time last year, so we're looking at about a 16% increase from the same time from last year. 21 to 22 did see a 24% overall increase, so we'll continue to watch that trend. We still have to get our numbers from the Peach Jam, so we should see a little tick in that. All right, and next is our TIF revenues. They are pretty much in line with what we were doing at this time last year. There's about maybe a 6% increase on those. So TIF revenue is doing about the same as it was. The city has paid our $350,000 payment to the county for its intergovernmental agreement, as well as another $2,400 to the overlapping tax entities. And this is the mid assessments. It has not changed. All mids are paid in full. And then last, we have our parking revenue. And this time it's positive, which I'm happy to report that for once. And the city continues our negotiations with the hotel and the developer to get all that situated. But what you're seeing here is the current revenue is from the Green Jackets parking and the parking meters. And then also, we're netting it against the expenses that we're paying for those. So that, again, that's a net number. And this is last. Stadium revenues. We are starting to see some admissions tax coming in. That's going to be from your, April, the first few games in April that the Green Jackets did. So we will see this number have a good increase at the next update. And the next, Green Jackets paid their rent for the stadium and the retail space as agreed to, and they will make their corporate naming rights. They make that payment in December. And that is about all I have. Questions?
Trends are very positive.
Trends are very positive.
Thank you, Linda.
Mr. Mayor, I'd also like to remind the council and our citizens that are watching that, the quarterly update that Linda gives us is a voluntary update. There is an annual requirement, but understanding the citizen interest in Riverside Village and the associated finances, we do this as a transparency effort to keep the council and our citizens informed. But again, this is not required by our bondholders or by the EMA reports. This is something we do above and beyond. That is the requirement. And also, as we talk about some of the additional tax revenue, we anticipate that the True Hotel will be coming online sometime by the end of this calendar year, which will also have a positive impact on the accommodations tax into fiscal year 2024. So again, that will also be a positive impact on the overall tax revenue that we deal with here for the A-tax.
Well, I was at Chicken Salad Chick today, and I never go with, I'm trying to help the hospitality tax. And I said, I'm Pat Carpenter. That one said, how do I know you? I said, because I'm out here bugging you all the time. But as I was telling them, I said, look around here, 15 people, North Augustans, are eating in at this particular hour. And so she said, well, y'all going to pay for us? I said, no, you pay your own way. But you do need to come to North Augusta. So I'm telling you, when we go in these restaurants, we really need to speak up for our city. And, they might not listen, but she remembered my name.
Well, from an H-tax perspective, if you look just at Exit 5 with the current construction of the Chick-fil-A, which will be the second in the city, that will have a net positive impact on our H-tax, as well as the Popeyes that's planned out by the QT. So we are still seeing some growth in the sector. So we're still targeting specific types of businesses, but we are seeing restaurant and business growth here in the city.
And Chick-fil-A's, I think he told me today they're going to be opening in November.
Well, you've got better information than I do at the moment, Councilwoman, so that's good.
Let me tell y'all, who did I call the other day? I was at Rick, at Gary's Hamburger. And somebody said, what's this going on in the city, Pat? I said, well, like I always say, you hear more at Gary's than you do. So y'all just going to have to hang out at more restaurants.
All right, Linda, sorry for glossing over you. That's obviously an important update. And then I'll turn it over to Tommy for Development Code reread update.
Mr. Mayor. Appreciate being here. This development code, I want to start out by saying thank you to Cully Baker. She was my right hand through all of this, and this is a project that has just kept on ticking. And not only did it survive COVID, it survived a change in administration, change in mayors, change in planning commission, and change in planning directors. So it's gone through an evolution. We want to start out where we started from. And the first thing we did was an audit on the existing code. These are the stakeholder meetings. You had 13 developers and builders on those committees. You had 12 design professionals, 12 neighborhood or corridor residents, and 6 representatives from the downtown area. So you had a wide variety of people there to give comments. And then there was 2 surveys, one for the internal users and one for external. And what the audit found was the strength of our current code was the quality of life protections and the quality of development standards. So that's something that we wanted to maintain as we move forward and keep in mind when the changes were being made to the development code. Now, one of the changes that comes out is reorganize, clarify, and streamline the requirements, clarify the roles and responsibilities of all the players. When you look at it, it's got a different look, it's got a different feel, but it is, I think, will be more user-friendly. It'll be easier to find things. I know I'm finding stuff in it easier, just the way it's laid out. And I really like having the chapter up on the right-hand corner. It helps me find my way through there. Next. Now, what did we change? Well, the big thing I think that y'all the big issues was the overlay districts were removed and the downtown district was removed. And they were replaced with Downtown Mixed Use 1, Downtown Mixed Use 2, and a corridor preservation use. Okay. Now the Downtown Mixed Use 1, that's Georgia Avenue. It's typically what I refer to as Main Street for North Augusta. And there are design standards for buildings in Downtown Mixed Use 1. So that is where your corridor or your overlay standards intertwine there so that you still have those. It's just not in a different section over here. The maximum building height was put on there as 35 feet. And this may or may not be something that council wants, but the recommendation is to have no off-street parking requirement in the downtown mixed use 1. That's only on Georgia Avenue. And the reason for that is to try to grow denser in and put parking in public spaces and on the street. Go ahead.
Wait, explain that a little more.
Okay. If you've got to put a parking lot in there, and if you're going to develop a restaurant and you're required to have off-street parking, well, then you've got to have enough land there to meet those off-street parking requirements, right? If you don't have that requirement, then you could build property line to property line and have more denser business. But that pushes the parking onto the street and in the public areas. And that is only for the downtown 1. So that's just the Georgia Avenue. It wouldn't apply to the other downtown districts.
What about, and I guess this book we got to read. Now, when is that due, that homework?
Well, we'll get
He's going to give us a schedule at the end.
Okay, all right. But I know before, a lot of the trouble in downtown North Augusta, and maybe it's going to be talked in here, but was the parking lot, you know, the requirement, what you had to have, the asphalt, and a lot of your businesses, I know used to be Davenport's, you know, that was a big mess because of the parking. And of course, there's Billy Thurman's office at Piedmont, you know, so is that addressed in this book? What type parking these businesses will be required to have?
Yes, ma'am. There is, where there's off-street parking requirements, that's in the book, what those requirements would be, how it needs to be laid out, landscaping, just like we had in the other book.
But we're not gonna make it where people can't do it. I mean,
Correct. If you,
you know, like I said, I know her,
now, if,
Davenport's was,
yeah, but if on downtown, you know, you have to look at your use table. And the use table, I believe downtown, you know, if you wanted to clear a lot and put a parking lot there, nothing but a parking lot, I don't think that would be allowed.
right, I know. But I just didn't want us trying to build our not downtown businesses up, but then put such a hardship on them, they can't.
Actually, this is trying to take hardship off of them.
Okay, all right, long.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Pat. That kind of fixes, if you think about that Davenport situation, they were required to have a parking lot. If this passed, they would not be required to have it.
Okay, okay.
Correct? Is that right? Or sort of?
Tommy
Davenport's-
already addressed that when he got it.
Davenport's may be a little bit out of the downtown District 1. I think it's East Buena Vista. I'd have to check the map, but it's right in there, and so it'd be on the borderline. Now, the downtown mixed use 2 is your West Avenue and what's currently zoned as downtown in Riverside Village. There's design standards required there as well. Off-street parking is required in these areas, and it has a maximum height of 45 feet, except in Riverside Village, and it's 70 feet there. If on that page, what we did was we took the height of the clubhouse, and that's where the 70 feet came from. There's a footnote on that page for downtown mixed use 2 that it gives you a box by streets where it can be 70 feet at. So that was how that was addressed. At one time, that was going to be a separate district itself, but the biggest issue was the difference in height, and that was a way we could accommodate that, trying to limit the number of different districts we had.
Now, what about, you was talking about the off-street parking, and I'm gonna bring up some more businesses like 3031, Sweet Fig. I mean, they park out front on the street right now. So will they be required to have a parking lot behind them?
Now, remember, anything that is there now stays. It
So it's
doesn't change.
grandfathered in.
It's grandfathered in.
Okay, all
We don't
right.
change any of that.
All right.
Going forward, yes, ma'am, they would be required to have parking.
Okay. And now, one more question, I'll be quiet. No, I won't be quiet. Why are we doing it just from Buena Vista up versus what Jennifer's saying about Davenport's? Why are we not doing really Bluff Avenue up for District 1, for the mixed-use one?
And I'm not for sure. You've got a map in your book, and I don't really have that in my head offhand.
I mean, looks like you'd have the whole George Avenue, all the way up to the Carolina,
But
Georgia.
you could, if it's not, we could certainly change it. You know, you can change that if you want to. The corridor preservation mixed use, basically that is where the neighborhood preservations formerly was, and design standards are required there. And I say that because getting rid of the overlays, I think, was a big deal, but we still have design standards in those districts that had them before. They're just done differently.
So that will take away like the historical overlay?
Well, we don't have a historical overlay.
Well, I mean, when we went through all that with the.
But we have our different
Police station.
overlays, it'll do away with all of those.
Okay.
So when you look at the page for this zoning district, you'll have everything there that you need. If you go off of that page, you might have to go to a different chapter and that kind of thing, but that page gives you the directions to go there. Go ahead. And some of the other changes that I thought y'all might want to know about is used to be that everything was linked to an NAICS code. That's a code for all the businesses. I forget what it's an acronym for. But you look it up on the internet or in the book, and this is what it is. It leaves no room for local interpretation. This will, by not being linked into them, we can put some common sense there where we might have been tied in before. Waivers are now heard by the Planning Commission. In this, it'll be moved to the Board of Zoning Appeals instead. Let me stop right here. I am not a perfect child, and whenever I was getting ready for this presentation, I was looking through the code, and I found a paragraph that we had left out. Which chapters are waivers and which chapters are variances? And after the discussion with the consultant, a little bit of an argument, and he finally goes, "You're right. We didn't. We went back and we've got some verbiage. If y'all will put in there for an amendment, that'll give, what used to be a waiver would be a waiver. What used to be a variance will still be a variance. It just lines up with the chapters in this book now. So we've got that out there. That's one of the cleanup items we're going to need to do. Conditional uses used to have a hearing, public hearing, for conditional use. Now it will have certain criteria that you have to have. It will not be subjective to a public hearing. Open space, if you are building a site and you don't touch, say, 5 acres over there, you leave it in its natural state, now you get credit for it as open space. Under our previous ordinance, you didn't get any credit for that. And that's something I think the committee wanted to incentivize, if I remember correctly. And then this one may be a little controversial, a protection buffer for our riparian buffers. When you look at what the other jurisdictions around us are doing, they're all at about 50 feet. And so the recommendation was to increase it from 25 to 50 feet. The minimum planting size of trees increased basically from 2-inch to 3-inch. And this is an interesting one here. Landscape maintenance guarantee for a commercial lot has been deleted. That's something we run up against quite often when a company's ready to get their CO. And they say, "What do you mean, a maintenance guarantee?" And then they have to get us a letter of credit or cash or something of 15% of what their landscaping was. In case the tree dies, the city can go in there and replace it. Well, it's like Mr. Zeezer said, what if all of them die? And we've only got 15% of the money. So I think there's teeth in the code that we could go back and make them fix that up. The maintenance guarantee is still there for street trees and those trees that's on the public right-of-way.
Tommy, for us, not everybody has a strong vocabulary. What is a riparian buffer?
That's the area around the water.
Okay.
Basically, if you got a creek, it needs to be 50 feet from the high water mark or a pond. Now going, so where do we go from here, Miss Pat? I'm finally getting around to your question. First thing in the morning, before I get to this, is I've got it queued up that all those people that you saw listed that was part of our focus group, I'm going to send them an email with a link and both the map and the ordinance so that they can take a look at it and give y'all any feedback they may have. We'll also have a hard copy there at our office, and We'll also be putting it on the webpage. That should be taking place tomorrow morning. So then, August the 7th, y'all will officially receive the book and take it as kind of information. On the 14th, the study session. I think the plan is for y'all to review it and discuss it and, kind of wear it out a little bit. The 21st, I don't know if the mayor's told you this or not, 5:30 instead of 6. There'll be a public hearing on this matter, and then the first reading on the proposed ordinance after that. The September the 11th, you may or may not be discussing it. That's kind of all in what's needed. And then September the 18th is hopefully the second reading, and it passes. And then Mr. McGee and Mr. Toole, they were both on the steering committee. And I don't know if they've got any comments they might want to share as well, Mr. Mayor.
I think this is very good because, one, for council, Pat, to your question, it's going to give us 2 weeks. So next week, as you start reading this, we can discuss it next Monday, the 7th. We'll discuss it in depth on the 14th, okay? That's also going to give citizens 2 opportunities to listen. Then we'll have again, a public hearing at that point. And we threw the 11th out there as just if we needed one more space. Over the cities, we spent 3 years on this. And Tommy's told you all the people involved in it. So we want to get this out to citizens because this hadn't been done since 2007. I don't believe this is a very good development code rewrite. And when we finally get that second reading, we're going to be moving forward. So I don't want anybody saying, well, I didn't know about it. I didn't hear, okay? We're giving, our job is to let people know if you've got a say and for this council. So this is your time for us to have not just 2 weeks, but really, literally, we're giving ourselves a month. So I think by the second reading on September the 18th, we all feel pretty good about where we're going. Would you agree, Mr. Paradise?
Yes, can
Okay.
I make another comment?
Yes, hope you will.
Because y'all will probably get this question is, because I have gotten it from some of the developers or some of the design professionals of, am I going to have to meet the new ordinance? Well, if we've been working with you on a project in the past and you've got in working with us, there's something I call the fundamental fairness rule, and we're not going to change the rules on you in the middle of your project if you've got it started, unless you want to. And then those that come after that, well, yeah, they'll have to follow the new one. But we're not going to we're going to try real hard not to harm anybody by changing and adopting the new ordinance. And that's kind of play-by-play as we go through it. But y'all will probably get that question. Anything else from me, Mr. Mayor?
You're doing good, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Staff, everybody.
Tommy,
Any
a quick
questions for
question.
Tommy? I'm sorry.
So where will citizens be able to see this? 'Cause I'm sure there's questions that we'll get, what's in the code, what can I see?
We're going to have a link on the website. We'll have a link of the map on the website because really, the book without the map doesn't do you a lot of good. And we will also, if you're like me, in my generation, I like looking at paper. We will have a copy here at our office if you want to come in and look at it. And we'll have a copy of the map as well.
And I grant you, everybody's going to be running in tomorrow.
Yeah. And, if somebody has a problem, I can email them the links too. I've got a developer, he wanted the link last week. I said, nope, it's got to go. I was told, goes to council first. I said, I'll give it to you Tuesday morning.
It goes on the website before the second reading.
Yes, ma'am, it'll go on the website in the
And so
morning.
people will understand that is not, that is not the final to that second reading. People understand that.
It'll say proposed, or something to that effect.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You got anything else? You're good?
Mr. Mayor, just as a update to council, I know you all have gotten some calls over the previous weeks and then this week as well. We are doing a targeted enforcement of parking around the North Augusta High School. And so we've had officers out there at dismissal time today. I was out there as well. I know chief's officers wrote 3 tickets, one involving somebody rolling through a stop sign and some people parking on the yellow curbs. And so it's not a perfect solution, but it's the solution that is available to us based on our code of ordinances. So chief is pulling people off of other duties to go do that. We're doing that as a targeted enforcement action for the next week or two to get compliance and to model new behavior in that neighborhood. And then we'll go back to doing the things that we need to do in other parts of the city and other neighborhoods. So just wanted to make sure the city council is aware that that's something we're doing to try to cut down some of the infractions that we have in that neighborhood that's bordering the North Augusta High School.
And also, as I wrote you and I talked to Chief Thomas, the same thing is happening at Paul Knox Middle on Wales and Paris Avenue. People parking in front of driveways. Of course, Paul Knox sort of fixed their problem 2 years ago when they made the track around the school. But, you know, yeah, but Chief said he's going to send someone to look at that. So, and I have one more thing. You need to say something else, Jim? I'll wait.
I was just going to say that the department does not have the manpower to flex officers to every school at
No,
every
we
dismissal
don't. I
time,
know
so-
that. But to me, we have to go look at these situations. I mean, you know, we just can't say, I'm sorry. But, you know, if you could just go and people see that we are trying, but there's not a lot we can do sometimes, you know. I mean, if no one's doing anything illegal, you know. But one thing I wonder, and I wrote Jim about this too, Richard Harmon, who used to work for the city many moons ago, he wrote about Stevens Way, and I'm not even familiar with that, Tommy is, and he was talking about the medians. Right now, they're dirt versus Walnut Lane, you know, the median's high pretty. But I know you said, Jim, we're going to have to prioritize these things, but how do we do that this would get done? I mean, if we're requiring them to put trees and pay for the trees, but yet the median is awful.
Well, Councilwoman, we prioritize that through the budget cycle. So if that is something that is of importance to the city council for this coming calendar year, that's something we can take as a budget request from the council to put in to have those medians potentially addressed. But I would tell you, we're having some staffing shortfall issues right now servicing, you know, the current level of property maintenance we have. So I wouldn't disagree, and Tommy's actually done some research into the medians, and that would be a city requirement, not a private developer requirement. And I agree that they could certainly be beautified beyond where they are now. And I think we would have the ability to put those things in this calendar year, even with the budget that we have. The issue is going to be, do I have the manpower to actually address those on a recurring and routine basis? And until I can feel confident that that's, you know, the plants that we put in there are going to be able to survive and be tended to, I'd be remiss in just sticking some things in a median and then having them all be dead in, you know, 7 months or so. So,
But now, is the shortage due to people are just not working, quitting, or are we shorthanded that we need to add people in the budget for more jobs within I mean, since we're growing so much, and Eric can talk about that in a minute, but, you know, like I said, if we want to grow and want to be big, but yet we can't maintain it. So do we need, in the coming budget, say, hey, they need more people. We gotta have enough people.
Pat, that's why we had the growth retreat. So every director came in front of us and said, these are what we need as we move forward the next 10 years. So what staff's going to be doing is, as we move forward in the budget, is figuring out, okay, here's a prioritization of what we can do, and then when they come to us, it'll be us, our decision. So we'll have to decide, is this staffing situation our prioritization for the city, or do we need this one? So, yeah, you're right, we're beginning to address it, and that'll be up to us to decide yay or nay.
Okay, well, I want us to address it, and as Tommy said a minute ago, common sense. I mean, we've got to use common sense, also on this, and we just can't expect to have a big city, and we are going to address it, but I just don't want to lag on that we're addressing things.
And Pat, I mean, the main thing is if you look, I mean, they've got a ton of job openings. No young kids want to work maintenance. They don't want to work cutting grass. Unfortunately, it's a different day and time.
Well, I know it is.
And what they want to do is, if McDonald's and Zaxby's are paying $13, $14 an hour, they're going to work there in the air conditioning instead of going to work.
Well, they are, and we know everybody has that trouble. But I just want to be sure, in all these department directors here, that you're not so short on staff because we as a council are not providing in our budget for that.
Yeah, I mean, our challenge when the budget comes, as it's been every year, will come down to dollars. And, how do we want to do it? And that's where we will have tough decisions to say, this area here, or this area, and that's what we'll do in the budget. But, Pat, your point is where I would tell you, because of COVID, what this council is addressing now is just that. We're having the conversation again about what is it going to take in 10 years? Because growth is coming, right? And it's our responsibility as leaders in this city to lead this community and to say, okay, here's what we're going to need in 2 years in this department, here's what we're going to need in 3 years, and it's for us to make those decisions. And that's the charge we've given our directors, and they've given us that information, and now the charge is this administration and directors to come to us each year with a budget and a plan to know, here's what we're going to do in 2024, here's what 2025 looks like, so we can put this city in the position it needs to be.
Well,
We're gonna do that.
I'm going to go back to, of course, Bob Brooks is not here to defend me, but this council also might need to consider there might have to be another tax increase if we want to keep up with what our city does. So, and I was on that 25 years that we bragged on ourselves, no tax increase. But I'm telling y'all, that was the worst thing that ever happened in North Augusta. The taxes should have been increased 1 or 2 meals each year. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's nice to sit up here and say, and especially 2 of our citizens back there, that no, we'll never increase your taxes. But that's not realistic. And I'll go on home tonight.
I don't have any reflections. I just want to thank Linda and Tommy for your presentations. I think for citizens, things are moving in a good direction with where we are with growth in each of our models in Riverside Village, which is very positive. And this development code, like I said, since 2007, this will be the most comprehensive change this community has made, and I think it's going to be very positive. So. Anyway, with that, we stand adjourned. Thank you.